Hi, I'm Helen and welcome back to my channel. You're watching What Helen Reads, and today I'm sharing part 2 of my BookTube journey with you. So I'm relatively new to YouTube and I thought it'd be fun and interesting to document my YouTube journey in terms of seeing if I can follow some of the top tips and best practice from other YouTubers about how to start a YouTube channel, and just looking to see how actually practical it is, how easy it is to do, and how I get along with each step. So in part 1, which I shared a couple of weeks ago, this was just really setting up the channel. So basically deciding what I was going to have my channel about, what the name of my channel was going to be, and then really just getting started. And one of the top tips was really about just using the technology or equipment that you've got. So when you're new to YouTube, you're not necessarily going to have millions of subscribers straight away. You're certainly not going to earn any money at YouTube, and for many months many people aren't even going to watch any of your videos at all. So you don't really want to be splurging on loads of fancy equipment and lighting and sounds and cameras and everything. And so the advice is very much to just use the equipment that you've got to start with, and really don't spend any money until at least your channel is established. You know it's something you're going to stick with and continue to enjoy, and maybe then some of the equipment is some things that you might want to invest in as you go. So today I'm going to share with you my experience of attempting to use the technology that was available to me and how I got on with that. So the first bit of technology I tried to use was my iPhone 13. Now I'm lucky enough to have an iPhone 13 Pro, so it's a pretty new phone, and the video and sound quality is pretty good on the iPhone. So this is what a lot of people start out with in terms of recording, and loads of people do highly recommend it. With the new cameras now, there's like 3 cameras on the back of the iPhone, then you can upgrade the settings and everything so it records in 4K and all of that good stuff. And there's some really good YouTube videos around how to set up your iPhone. Now in terms of actually using the iPhone to record, that was pretty simple enough, and the only bit of equipment I did actually purchase was a stand and a light ring to put it on. So it was fairly cheap, less than about £15 on Amazon, and I basically got a stand that had a ring light on it and also a cradle where you could dock your phone so that you could record yourself, and that's kind of what I used to get started. And like I say, in terms of actually videoing it and the sound quality, it wasn't too bad, and that was fine. But what I personally found was 2 things with the iPhone. The first thing was that because it is a phone, obviously you can't see yourself when you're filming. So if you choose to use the rear facing camera, which is the best quality camera, you can't see yourself, and there's no way that you can see yourself on the camera. So I was a bit nervous about what I was looking like and if I was going to be in the shot, and so it kind of left me feeling a bit uncomfortable. Like I'd press play and I'd sit down and I'd record, and then it wasn't until I came back to edit later I realised the top of my head was cut off or something like that. But if I wanted to be able to see myself, then I could obviously use the front-facing camera like you would take a selfie, but then of course you're sort of in a mirror image of yourself, and also the video quality is not quite as good. The second thing about the iPhone was the way that I was going to be able to edit the footage after, because my iPhone is the only Apple product that I have, and so I think a lot of people who use the iPhone to record videos also have an Apple Mac or a MacBook Pro or something where they can actually use iMovie then to do the edits, and they can easily dock the phone, take the footage off the phone, and then use it to edit in the software. But I don't actually have access to an Apple Mac or iMovie on another device, and this is where I kind of ran into problems, because when I first started to film videos, I wasn't very good at actually talking in front of the camera, so I made a lot of mistakes and I had to repeat a lot of video footage over and over, and so it was much harder to edit, and therefore editing the film on my actual phone was not practical and not something that was easy to do. So I know a lot of people, are quite good at that. They can record their videos in one take and maybe just do a bit of trimming and cut out a few bits in the middle, and therefore editing on iMovie on their phone is a good solution. They can record the whole thing, they can edit, and then they can upload straight into YouTube all on their phone, and that's great if you're that type of person. But unfortunately it just wasn't working for me. And I did attempt to get the footage off my iPhone and onto my PC, because I've got a PC with the Microsoft Suite. But the thing with that was that I found it really difficult to get the footage actually off my iPhone. You know, Apple products and PC products are really not that compatible. I didn't have the right cable to take the footage off my phone, and if I did it sort of via the cloud, so I uploaded the video into the cloud and downloaded it back to the cloud onto my PC, it was just taking such a long time to do that. So again, this didn't feel very a practical solution in terms of getting the footage off my phone. It wasn't easy to move things around. So I kind of abandoned the iPhone 13. Now, my husband does have a Samsung, and he has the latest version of the Samsung, so that is where I headed to next. And again, it's a very good camera, really good sound quality, so recording the footage was absolutely fine. But again, recording on the phone was the same experience as with the iPhone 13 in that unless I was using the forward-facing camera, I couldn't actually see myself on screen, so I kind of lacked a bit of confidence about what I looked like in the shot. However, besides that, actually getting the footage off the camera is so much easier. You can just, you know, dock it to your PC, just drag and drop the files, and they're there and they're done. So from that perspective, using the Samsung was much easier. But for me, again, it wasn't really practical in the long term, because it is my husband's phone. So every time I wanted to record a video, I'd have to borrow his phone, which was fine and was great, and he didn't mind doing that. But obviously, while I'm using it to film, then he doesn't have his phone, so we kind of had to work together for a convenient time when I could take his phone and do some filming. And then the third bit of equipment that I had access to that I could just practice with, it didn't belong to me, but it was something, a bit of equipment that I could borrow just to see how I got on with it, and that was the Canon, and it was quite an old Canon, and it's the EOS 70D, but nevertheless, a lot of people do use Canons for YouTube. They're quite easy sort of vlogging cameras to use as well. And so I thought I'd give that a whirl and see how I got on. Now, obviously, setting up the Canon was much more challenging than just sort of like, you know, switching your iPhone or your Samsung phone on and just starting to record. Obviously, it was a bit overwhelming, especially for a complete newbie, because there were so many buttons and features on it, I didn't really know what to press. But I did much prefer filming using it because it has a flip out screen, and therefore I can see myself when I'm filming. Also, obviously, it comes with a memory stick, so you can just take the memory stick out of the camera afterwards, and transferring files was also super easy. But the sound quality on the Canon wasn't very good because I didn't have access to a really good microphone, and therefore the sound quality was quite poor. Overall, I did much prefer using an actual camera with a flip out screen, so I could see myself when I was talking, but ultimately that particular model didn't work for me, not without buying additional equipment like you know, like camera, like microphones and things like that. So this is what I played around with for a number of months, just testing different things, trying different things, editing different videos. And in the end, I decided that despite all of the advice and recommendations, I really wanted to invest in a camera that I could use with good sound quality, because I just didn't think it was sustainable for me to be using my husband's mobile phone for videos. Now, this coincided with Christmas and also my birthday, so I asked my husband if he would kind of buy me a camera and, you know, have that be all of my presents for the year, if you like, from him. And after doing a lot of research, I ended up buying the Sony ZV-1, which is been designed specifically to be a vlogging camera, and it had really good reviews. And although there's lots of technical bits on it, it does an awful lot. It's also really simple for beginners because I can just put it in intelligent mode and just press a button and away it goes. So that's actually what I'm filming on today, and what I've filmed all my videos since I had it on, and I'm really loving it so far. It's everything that I wanted. So basically it's got a flip out screen so I can see myself. The video and sound quality I think are good enough for now. I'm using the built-in sound, so I haven't got an additional lapel mic or anything like that at the moment. Maybe that's something I'll invest in the future. The other thing with the camera is obviously it comes with a memory stick. I can easily dock that into my Mac and transfer the files quite quickly and easily. So I'm really enjoying the Sony ZV-1 at the moment, and like I say, I know it completely goes against all of the advice, which is just to start with the equipment you've got. And I know I'm very, very lucky that I've been able to get my hands on a camera so early in my YouTube journey, if you like. But that is the decision I ended up making after trying all the different options. Okay, so once you've actually filmed your video and got it onto your PC, how do you edit it? And this is something we have done completely free of charge currently, because again, I'm no expert. I'm not an expert editor. I've never really edited any videos before, and so I wanted something really, really simple that wasn't too technical or difficult to use straight away, but also free. And after doing it again, quite a lot of research, I ended up with two options, or two different tools that I use to completely do the videos end to end, and that is Canva, and then the second one is Premiere Rush, which is part of the Adobe suite. So Canva's really good for things like thumbnails and doing intros, or maybe some animations, but I don't use it to obviously edit all of my video footage inside Canva. But Premiere Rush is where I do the majority of the editing. And so far I found it's quite basic. Obviously there are Premiere features, like with anything you can upgrade and buy some Premiere features that does additional things. But so far, in terms of my skill level and the types of videos that I'm recording, I don't have to do too much fancy editing. So really Premiere Rush has been great to just drag the videos into Premiere Rush, edit all the bits I need, move the clips around, and it's got some nice transitions as well. And yeah, easy to export the videos afterwards and upload them. What I will say at this point, which is another negative for the iPhone 13 in my opinion, if you're going to be editing using non-Apple software, so i.e. you're not editing on a Mac and you're not using iMovie, is that when we got the footage, I finally got the footage off my iPhone and tried to edit it in Premiere Rush, we ended up problems when we tried to export the footage back out, because we didn't have the right codecs we needed in order to be able to export the footage. So this caused quite some additional problems, because we first of all spent 89 pence, I think it wasn't too expensive, on a codec that it said we needed, but it still didn't work. And when we kind of read reviews about it, a lot of people was having the same problem. So even if you upgraded and Premiere Rush into like a paid for service, it still didn't work. So because I'd got a lot of footage initially on my iPhone 13 and I didn't want to waste it, what we ended up having to do was play the video on the screen and record the screen, and then use that for the editing, which of course kind of diluted the video quality even further. So that's, like I said, that's another negative I think for the iPhone 13, unless you've got the full Apple suite. And I'm sure if you've got an Apple iPhone, a Mac and iMovie, then it would work brilliantly. But what did we learn in the editing process? Because like I said, I was really, really new to editing, had never edited a video before. My husband, who's a little bit more technical than me, was trying to help me out and kind of learn how to use Premiere Rush and show me how to use it. But between us, we kind of like, we're very much novices. But through the process of attempting to edit a video, we did learn an awful lot. And in the early days, it took us forever to edit even one video, because one, we didn't know the software very well, so it was, you know, challenging from that perspective, just trying to get used to using a new tool. But also because I had very little experience in filming a video, it made editing so much more difficult because of the way I'd filmed it. So while I was practicing filming, my initial goal was to try and start a video and talk like end to end, because I thought if I started and finished the whole video in one take, then less editing would be needed to do and would be easier in the editing process. However, of course, because I was new to making videos, I made loads and loads of mistakes, and I ended up recording end-to-end videos multiple times. So say if it was a 20-minute video and I did it 3 or 4 times, I ended up with footage that was like, you know, nearly 2 hours long. And then what we found was that if I wanted to record, you know, if I liked my intro from the first take that I did, but my outro from video 3, and then the middle piece from video 2, but another section from video 4. It was really hard to cut those pieces and put them where I needed them. Dragging and dropping them is not just a case of like, oh yeah, I want that one and that one and that one, and you drop them in. You kind of have to drag them along. It's not very easy. You can't just cut and paste in Premiere Rush, because obviously it's a free tool. You couldn't do this. It's not very easy. So it just took forever to do the editing, and was really frustrating as well. So from that, I took a step back and thought, well, how am I going to film in the future to make the editing process easier? And then I decided that I was going to, rather than trying to do it in one take, split it down into smaller parts so that I could make sure that each part was correct before I moved on to the next part. And by doing that, I could actually then go, yeah, I prefer that version rather than that version. I can just delete it out and then carry on to the next section while editing. And that has worked better. I also attempted to script my content as well. So I found that if I actually kind of scripted it out, then it was easier in the editing process, because you could also follow the script and make sure that you were editing the footage in the order that the script was taking place, so that you kind of didn't miss anything, didn't cut anything out, and made sure I covered all my points. But you know, from a artistic side of things, I found that when I was doing a script and sticking to a script more rigidly, then you know, I was a little bit stiffer and I wasn't as natural in front of the camera, because clearly I was reading from a script and it wasn't kind of free flowing in terms of being quite natural with the way I spoke. So like I said, through the editing process, I learned quite a lot about how to film the video in the first place, not only to make it more interesting for people to watch, but also how to make it easier to edit later on. So clearly I'm still learning, I'm still really new to this, so I learn every time I film something and edit something. I learn something every day, but by going through that process, I think definitely helps overall in terms of, you know, getting better at producing videos and getting quicker at editing the videos as well. Of course, once you've filmed it and you've edited it, that's not the end, is it? Because you need to make sure you've got an introduction. So I chose to have like a bit of a jingle, so I would introduce the video and put in a little jingle, and then I would also have an outtakes at the end. So I worked on creating kind of like, you know, a 10-second jingle clip where the name of my channel comes up and I've got a little bit of music, and then also a beep clip at the end to signify when the outtake starts. So that also took a little bit of time. We produced that in Canva, and now I've kind of got that as a standard thing that we can import into all the videos I make, so that, you know, they're all consistent and look very similar. But again, that's something to bear in mind when you're editing videos for the first time, is are you going to have a jingle, and if you do, what does that look like, how are you going to create it to import it into the video. And then following that, obviously you need to do your thumbnail as well. So again, in the early days, I was very much just recording the video, editing the video, and then the video would be final, but then I have to upload it to YouTube. How do I go about doing that, and how do I do my thumbnails? And again, this was very much a learning experience, because I know a lot of people take separate pictures of themselves to do the thumbnails, where I didn't take any pictures of myself at the time, and it might be a couple of weeks later when I come to edit the footage that I recorded, and then in order to make the thumbnail, I'm trying to get a screenshot of like a bit of video footage that is useful, that I can use for the thumbnail. So again, that's been quite difficult and quite challenging. So my thumbnails are still pretty basic. They're all very similar. Like I've kind of found a style that's easy for me to put together and that I kind of like, but there's not a lot of variety. So that's another thing that I'm going to be working on in the coming weeks, is to improve on my thumbnails, because I know that they're really important as well for attracting viewers and getting people to watch your videos. So like I said at the beginning, if you've watched part 1 of this video, you'll know I'm very new to the journey. It was much more around just setting up the channel in the first place and practicing speaking in front of the camera. And today I've covered off kind of just like practicing with different types of phones and cameras to see how I got on with that and what I preferred, and also what I learned through the editing process. Because I have learned a lot. I'm still on the journey, I'm still learning all the time, but this is kind of where I'm up to. So that's all I wanted to cover today. I hope you found it useful. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me, and of course if you have any questions about anything I've covered off, please pop that in the comments down below and I'll come back to you. But in the meantime, I'll say goodbye and I'll see you next time. So that's all I've got time for today. No, that's all I've got time for today. Got loads of time. And then the third bit of equipment that I attempted to use that I had access to was a Canon. It was a Canon camera. So the other option would be so this is what I tried to do. So I hi, welcome back to my channel. You're watching Helen. Hello. Hello. Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Helen and you're watching. No, start again. I can't even do with the intro.